y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to Abba and Shamayim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. We pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And there they which testify of me. But you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you. Shalom, Brother Herman. But I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one from another, and not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my words? All esteem and praise to Abba and Shamayim in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Peace each man. Shalom, Brother Ernest. Shalom, Moon. I meant to name this video verse 16 of Isaiah 8, but verse 20 is fine. So Isaiah 8 and 16. I think I can go back and edit it later. It's still the same playlist, so don't make no difference. Bind up the testimony, seal the law among my disciples. And I will wait upon Yahuwah to hide his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. And behold, I and the children whom Yahuwah has given me are for signs and for wonders in Yasharal from Yahuwah of hosts, which dwell, Shalom, Mama Steph, Shalom, Joseph Man, which dwell in Mount Zion. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their Elohim for the living to the dead, to the law and the testimony? If they speak it not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So, we were talking about some of that last week. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to remember something because I said I was going to hit on something. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, tempo. So, listen, I want to go back to bind up, because the bind up and the seal the testimony part is the part that I'm genuinely want to focus on. We started discussing that. Remember, to bind up is sarar, sod, double rashes. So, to even be able to enter into the way of the shepherd, you're going to have to be bound. But it also means to be narrow, to be in distress, to make narrow, to cause distress, to be straightened, to be bound, to be tied up. Also to have hostility towards. What does this mean? Peace, oh brother, on my mind. Come to Matthew chapter 7. What is this? Well, I'm going to go through this here. Notice that it said to be bound. Shalom, Sister Regina. To be bound, you're going to have to be afflicted. Again, I am going to read this definition again. To be bind, to be narrow, to be in distress, to cause distress, to be besieged, to be straightened. Before I even read Matthew 7, excuse me. Let me go to John 16. It was something else in my mind that slipped out. Hey, sit your square head behind down somewhere. See, this little girl here not going to make it to C3 years old. She's not going to make it. 16 to 29, John. Oh, well, praise you. His disciples said unto him, Lo, now you speak you plainly and speak no proverb. Now we are sure that you know all things and need not that any man should ask you. But this we believe that you came forth from Elohim. Yahushua answered them, do you now believe? Behold, the hour come, yea, is now come, that you shall be scattered, every man to his own, and shall leave me alone. Yet I am not alone, because Abba is with me. These things have I spoken unto you, that you might have shalom in the world. You shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. What does this tribulation mean in Greek? Now, he just told you that you will have tribulation. And at least in Greek, tribulation is Thilphus, That is oppressing, pressing together, pressure. Shalom, brother, my man. Oppression, distress, straits. So you're gonna have a little distress. You're gonna have a little pressure. You know what I'm talking about? So let me do 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Oh my God, today. So 2 Corinthians 12. That's 1 Corinthians 12, so that's not going to get us nowhere. We just looked at this the other day, but I'm going to look at it again. 2 Corinthians 12 and 1. And after, I'm going to go to 2 Corinthians 12 and 1. We got to go to Matthew 7, and we're going to go to Sunday in the book of Judges, because this just came to my mind. We haven't talked about this in a very long time. It's going to go along with Matthew chapter 7. Matter of fact, we'll probably go to the book of Judges first, and then go to Matthew chapter 7. So 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 1. It is not expedient for me, doubtless, to esteem I will come to visions and revelations of the Lord. I knew a man in a Mashiach above 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, whether out of the body I cannot tell. Elohim know, such as one caught up to the third Shamaim. For those who have not been around to hear this, you can go look at that in the book of Ezekiel, when Ezekiel says he was grabbed by the lock of his hair. This is where you can see where he say, whether in the body I cannot tell, whether out of the body I cannot tell. You understand? Matter of fact, let me grab that for people who are not familiar. Because I did state, Yahuwah willing, that in quote unquote 2025, we will go back and touch on things that we have not discussed since 2015, 16, 17, 18, so on and so forth. One, to stir up some of your mind, pure mind, by way of remembrance, and others because you have never heard it, unless you went back and looked at old videos. Let me say you never heard it. You just ain't heard it if you've been around here. You know what I'm saying? I can't say what you haven't heard or you have heard. Ezekiel 8 and 1. It came to pass in the 6th year, in the 5th of the month, I sat in your house, and the elders of Yehuda sat before me, that the hand of Yahuwah Elohim fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire. This is again, remember, he told you that his angels are ministers of fire. From the appearance of his loins even downward, fire, and the appearance of his loins upward as the appearance of brightness as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of a hand and took me by the lock of my head. And the Ruach lifted me up between the Arats and Shamaim and brought me in the visions of Elohim to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looked towards the north, where the seat of the image of jealousy which provoked to jealousy. And behold, the esteem of the Elohim of Yasharal there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Let's add Isaiah chapter 6 on top of that. Now, you look at Isaiah 6 and 1. He said, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Now, of course, you know, what's happening, so? Of course, you know, this is when he said, hey, you know, Yahuwah purged him. I'll read the verse 3 anyway. Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. Twain covered his face, twain covered his feet, and with twain did he fly. And he cried one to another, saying, Kadosh, 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 Yahuwah of hosts, the whole earth full of his esteem. Now, you really think, you got to ask yourself this question. See, this is going to be for some of them people who be like, well, they don't say that. Man, this man had to be in the vision where he was more than likely out of the body. How do you know this? When you see Paul here saying, I seen a man in a 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell or out of the body, and he was caught up to the third heaven, the third Shamin. Shalom, Brother Robert. How do you think that's possible? How would you reconcile that? Based also what you've seen in Isaiah 6, because it said that this Malachim came with a coal and purged Isaiah. Let me read that in its totality. Somebody might not be familiar. Let me finish reading Isaiah. I stopped at verse 4. And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then I said, woe me, for I am undone, because I, a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the Malek, Yahuwah of hosts. Now let me ask y'all a question according to this law. He said his eyes seen Yahuwah. Is that possible? And if it's possible, how is it possible? And if it's not possible, how is it not possible? Said would make sense to things in the heaven that Ezekiel saw. No, it's not possible even in a dream or a vision. Because and this is how we know this. He said his eyes see Yahuwah of hosts. There you go, Stanley. Because according to Exodus 33, no man can see Yahuwah and live. You know what I'm saying? So that means he had to see him out of the body. You know what I'm talking about? So if he's seen him out of the body, see, one of the first things should have clicked in your mind. You know 1 Corinthians 15 say what? Flesh and blood cannot inherit the Malkuth Shamayim. See, but if you're in a vision, you're not actually there. He said his eyes saw him. So you always have to remember when you're talking to people, people will go back to this word, and you can say vision, but you haven't reconciled that according to the text because they're going to have that Exodus 33. See, if you got a vision, you don't have to leave the body. You can have a vision and be asleep. We can read that when we read number 24, and you see where Balaam fell into a trance, and then he began to have a vision. We can see the same thing with Joseph when the Malachim stepped to him. So you can have a vision and not leave the body. This man said he saw a heavenly vision. The reason why I'm asking y'all this is because you have to reconcile what Paul said. You know what I'm saying? But see, I ain't talking about what people call it. Always remember, everything that we validate, you got to validate it with the word. 2, 3 witnesses. Boom, boom, boom. Because people going to run their mouth. You know what I'm talking about? So you got to stop it. And the only way to stop it is you got to boom, boom. Plus on top of that, y'all, when we look at what he's saying in Corinthians, we have to validate that with the script. Shalom, Mother Shalom. So he said, in the body, out of the body, I cannot tell. Man get caught up to the third heaven. Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. So if flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven is coming from Shamahim to man. And flesh and blood can inherit that. You can't go into the third heaven, flesh and blood. You would have to be changed. You know what I'm talking about? So when you see Ezekiel, it said he was caught in between heaven and earth. When you look at Isaiah, he's saying he saw Yahuwah. The law say, if you see Yahuwah, you die. You die. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying, but it's not even through the Ruach HaKodesh. You are out of the body. He's not in his body. It's not in his flesh and blood. Because your spirit is not the Ruach HaKodesh. Something totally different. Because he said, this man, I seen that. He put a tongue on his lips, say, I'm going to purge you, and then I'm going to send you. So the point, what I'm saying is you have to be able to explain that line for line, verse for verse. We are very, very laser focused specific that anything that we say, we can justify that with book. Not because we care about what other people say or what other people think, but because we're airtight. So you come at me, boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to argue with you no more. I'm not even going to discuss this with you no more. This is what it is. You accept it or you don't. You know what I'm talking about? And that's always been what the standard is. So I'm not busting your balls. This is what it is. This is what I hold these men to. This is what it has to be. There's a lot of scoffers. There's a lot of mockers. There's a lot of unlearned and unskilled men. You know what I'm talking about? And this is how they come at people. So you have to make sure that when they come, you know it. Boom, boom, boom. Because when you're talking to average people, your response, they're going to be cool with that. But when you're talking to these men who call themselves teachers of the word, scribes and things of this nature, they always going to try to, well, they say this here, and they say this here, and they say this here. And what they always going to look for is that you don't have a response with book to justify what you're saying. So when we come in like Tyson in his prime, and we out of here. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm going to knock you out in the first round, and I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even for the purpose of debate. It's the purpose of, I know fully why I'm saying this. This is fully why it's there, and you can take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? Shalom, me. You good. Y'all dig what I'm saying? Of course, the men who've been around here for a long time, they know. We have to do that. It's necessary. It's vital. You know what I'm talking about? So when you see him say, I saw Yahuwah, again, Stanley mentioned Exodus 33. So let's look at that. Because this is how people come at you. Now, most of y'all don't get in battles with individuals of this sort, but this is how people kick their game, unfortunately. Exodus 33 and 17. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, I will do this thing that you have spoken, for you have found grace in my sight, and I know you by name. And he said, I beseech you, show me your esteem. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of Yahuwah before you. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy to whom I will show mercy. And he said, you cannot see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. Now, when you look at the last verse, verse 23, I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back parts, but my face shall not be seen. When we flowing back to Isaiah chapter 6, he says here in verse 5, then he said, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, Yahuwah of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And I heard a voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I, verse 7. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, lo, this have touched your lips. Your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged. I'm sorry, Crystal, I didn't see. He said, what about where Daniel seen the... See, that's different, because that was a Malachim. That was a Malachim in that flame, in that fiery furnace. You know what I'm saying? You could see Malachims and live, because you seen where Samson's parents... when they saw that Malachim, they thought they were going to die because they thought they saw God. You know what I'm talking about? Let me show you that. Come over here to Judges. Judges 14. Or Judges 13, I'm sorry. (13 and 19). So Manoah took a kid with a meat offering and offered it for a rock unto Yahuwah, upon a rock unto Yahuwah, and did wondrously. And Manoah, his wife, looked on. For it came to pass when the flame went up toward Shamahim from off the altar, that the Malachim of Yahuwah ascended in the flame of the altar, and Manoah and his wife looked on and fell on their faces to the ground. But the Malachim of Yahuwah did no more appear. And Manoah said unto his wife, we shall surely die. I'm sorry, but the Malachim of Yahuwah did no more appear unto Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he, a Malachim of Yahuwah. And Manoah said unto his wife, we shall surely die, because we have seen Elohim. But his wife said unto him, if Yahuwah were pleased to kill us, he would have not received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands, neither would he have showed us all these, nor would at this time have told us such things as these. You know what I'm saying? He said the limitation. No, I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is that we have to validate what he's saying with the text. Always remember this here. There are people who don't accept the New Testament at all. And one of the reasons why they don't accept the New Testament at all is because individuals who believe on it do not know how to properly understand it. Well, what did you come in here for? Like, what was the point of that? These people don't care nothing about that, what you talking about. My God, today. You understand? So when you get that, they run across certain things to use to, what's the word I want to use? Invalidate, mock, discredit what are written in these letters. So the point of me mentioning this is it is vital that every one of us know exactly scripturally where we can justify what he is saying. Game saying, indeed, justify. Okay, he said this, boom, boom, boom. Here's our example. Number one, first and foremost, for yourself. Hey, man, don't disrespect me like that. Now, I can allow you to stay here, but if you're going to be on some more disrespectful type of time, I'm going to just go ahead and kick you up out of here. I really don't have the time, energy, or patience. Ain't no hope, baby. We grown here. You know what I'm saying? I don't need your attention, validation, money, vagina, or nothing you got. You know what I'm talking about? I really don't. These people here because they desire to learn of their God. So whatever type of time you want, you can stay on that type of time. But these people don't want to hear that. Okay, check this out. Watch this here. I'm gonna holler at you. That's what I'm gonna do for you. No, I won't do that. We just gonna get you on up out of here. And get you on up out of here. I ain't got time for that. I'm not in the mood. So that's why I'm focusing on that. Because, like I said, right, it's a lot of brothers and sisters who they don't know why certain things are in the New Testament, and they don't know where it's at from Genesis to Malachi to validate it. And individuals who don't believe in the New Testament, quote unquote, that is what they use to justify themselves. So we have to make sure that we are skilled, that we are adept, and that we know fully what we believe, why we believe it. I know he said this because of this. He said this because of that. He did this because of that. And therefore, individuals, you can stop their mouth. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not telling anyone to actively go out and seek some type of conflict or back and forth with individuals as it pertains to anything from the text. That is not my forte. I know some brothers like to debate. They like to smoke. That's their business. I'm not mad at them. I don't do that personally. Nevertheless, I will make sure that you are properly equipped in case you run across somebody who would seek to challenge what it is that you believe so that you're not stuck dumbfounded. You know what I'm talking about? Well, why he said this here, and then you can't explain it. You need to hit him with that word and you can walk away. You know what I'm talking about? Now, I have years of running across people who do this. I don't interact with people who don't believe in the New Testament, quote unquote, as often as I did at one previous time. You know what I'm saying? I just don't have the energy or the desire to like actively engage because most of them do not want to hear what you have to say, especially on Clubhouse. What's happening there? Especially on Clubhouse. You know what I'm saying? Because then people can, it's like, because I done had conversations with people like this back and forth. They don't want to have that conversation. They don't really want to go through the text. They don't want to hear your point of view. They don't want to see why you believe what you believe. You know what I'm saying? Any of that. They just want to say, oh, you're an idol worshiper. You're this, you're that, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? And so on and so forth. So for these young men, they need to be adept. And I'm very, very detailed. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to this right here, I pay attention to every single solitary detail. I cross every T, I dot every I. I make sure all punctuation is in place because truth be told, these unbelievers, as my homeboy said, the anti-missioners, they don't want no problem with me. And I say that according to the grace of Yahushua HaMashiach humbly. They don't want no problem with me. I will stomp these niggas' chests in and kick their teeth down their throat. You know what I'm talking about? Because in all things, Yahushua will be preaching, Abba and Shamahin will be esteemed. And you're not going to come around me talking that nonsense if I feel like actively sparring today. Because I will knock your teeth out your throat. I will put my foot so far up your behind. You know what I'm talking about? If you've seen the movie, you know what he said, that the water on my knee is going to quench your thirst. You know what I'm talking about? That's how I feel about them type of people because they don't know the word like that. They really just be running their mouth. You know what I'm talking about? And they need to get punched in it with the word, that is. Because we ain't laying no hands on nobody. You know what I'm talking about? Ain't no need to lay no hands on nobody. So that's because I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But we got to be locked in for the goofies out here. You did? So when we come back to 2 Corinthians 12. Because I don't know who y'all be talking to and who y'all run across. You know what I'm saying? I say you heard that word. Yeah, that was I used to thoroughly enjoy that movie. So when you see that, right? Verse 2, 2 Corinthians 12. I knew a man in a Mashak above 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, whether out of the body I cannot tell. Elohim know, such as one caught up to the third Samahim. What we're establishing from looking at Isaiah 6 and looking at Ezekiel 8 is that them having a vision out of the body. You understand? This is something that he's seen outside of physical flesh and blood because he would not be able to enter into the realms of which he entered into physically and observe that and live to tell about it. Verse 3. And I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell. Elohim no. How that he was caught up unto paradise, and he heard unspeakable words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. Of such a one will I esteem, yet of myself I will not esteem, but in infirmities. For though I would desire to esteem, I should not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man think above that which he see me to be, or that he heareth me. See, with this instance, you can see the same thing with the Mashiach and how he operated. You can see the same thing with Moses, how he said he was the meekest man upon the face of the earth. No, he's saying that he saw a man whom he knew in the flesh caught up to heaven. Now, whether it was a Malachim or an angel, a Malachim or a man, he's saying he don't know. He said God knows. He said he seen the man caught up in the paradise. He went to speaking words. See, it's one of those things that's in Psalms when he said, I don't exercise myself. It matters too high for me. One of the biggest problems with most people who are in the word at this present time is they feel like everything is for them to know and everything is for them to understand. Some things are not for you to know, and some things are not for you to understand in the capacity that you desire to understand. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing that I would wager that your parents didn't tell you every single solitary thing. You know what I'm saying? Nor were you privy to every single solitary thing, because some things are above your pay grade. We get to the point that you feel like that peace, Joshua, man. We feel like we equal with this man and that he should interact with us as if we are his equals. And we have to always remember, you are not his equal. Matter of fact, you're not his peer. You know what I'm talking about? Similar, but different. Similar, but different. You know what I'm talking about? But similar, because he saw him get taken up. You know what I'm talking about? And that's a lot of things where a lot of people get the game twisted at. You know what I'm talking about? Say, would this be the same dynamic of the paradise that's in the verse in Luke and Matthew on earth? That paradise is the kingdom of heaven, the New Jerusalem that to come down. So in that regard, yes. So one of the biggest problems I can see with people of this generation is that you think certain people are your peers. A lot of that comes in that is because people do not have respect for elders. Regardless of how you may feel about them, if this person is older than you, the book say, reverence the hoary head, not if the hoary head is righteous, not if the hoary head is unrighteous, not if the hoary head has a doctrine. He didn't put any of these caveats that we want to put all these things on. He just said have respect for them. You know what I'm saying? And we don't tend to do that because we're an unaccountable, disrespectful, rude, and proud generation. Very much as it says in what you call it in Proverbs. Let me read that to you real quick. I think it's Proverbs 30. So now that I got it in my mind, I was having this conversation with this lady on Facebook. She was very, very angry, to say the least. Where is it at? 30 and 12. There's a generation that are pure in their own eyes, yet they are not washed from their filthiness. You know what I'm saying? See, we think, oh, we the people, this, all this stuff. You think you good, boy, you wicked as hell. You know what I'm talking about? But there was this video of this pastor, right? He brought a young lady up there. She got pregnant. I don't know where the dude is at. Obviously, that all that information is not there. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is she could have got inseminated by a man who don't even go to their church. I don't even think that run across people's mind. Because we had a conversation with a dude last night. This man had a problem with IUIC saying that if you have sex with a woman in the congregation, you have to marry her. And he was like, you can't force people to do that. And I said, you know what the problem is that you niggas don't want no standard. You don't want to be held applicable to a standard. You don't want to say, okay, you dealing with that woman, you put your wee-wee in that woman, you need to marry that woman. Because you're not going to be around here swinging loose meat and think, oh, all you can do is I repent and then have sex with somebody else. Because what people don't realize is if and this it takes you back to the priest Eli, if you are privy to this behavior and you're letting it go on, you're going to have to answer for that. Because you are going to know why didn't you stop this? But you know, only thing that people care about is people's feelings. How somebody going to feel. I don't give a damn about your feelings. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to go ahead and let that be known right now. I don't care about your feelings. Your feelings are irrelevant to me. You know why? Because your feelings will change. They will change. We do not put any stock into anything that is fluid. Your feelings are like this. This is why this man said, if you're going to come to Hamashiach, you know what I'm talking about? Absolutely. If you're going to come to Hamashiach, you have to crucify your affections and lusts. You cannot be a servant of God and be emotional. And it's not because you're supposed to just discard emotions. You're going to have emotions. He says you have to crucify them. That means you have to mortify them. They have to be dead, and you have to be living according to the Spirit and make decisions based off the will of God, not how you feel. Because this man has already told you the heart is deceitfully wicked and deceitful above all things. So your feelings will lie to you. They will deceive you. The Ruach of God will never deceive you because he told you the Ruach is truth. So that's not going to deceive you. So you can't be into that. This lady was like, this pastor wicked. I say, baby, you do know the words say that that's what's supposed to happen. The book say rebuke before all so that others might fear, which is the same thing your law say. We just read the other day, he said, man, if you call a brother, any man a brother, he'd be a fornicator or an idolater or an extortioner or covetous. He said, don't fool with him. These people, this lady say, you don't have to go to church for forgiveness. You go to God. She's not going for forgiveness. She got to confess that sin. See, I'm going to tell y'all something, right? And I was getting to this in another avenue from something that Mother Sharona had mentioned that I want to work in, if not tonight, this week, period. Hamashiach was chastised for your iniquities. You know what I'm talking about? So that means he took this man and beat him, plucked out his beard and hung him from a tree as an open shame in front of everybody. And you mean to tell me that you don't think if you committing sin that you shouldn't have to stand out there and confess that and be put to shame openly when the man who you say died for your sins got put to shame and he didn't do nothing? How can you have the unmitigated gall to think that just the same thing he did to David? He said, you did it in the dark, I'm going to bust your head wide open in front of everybody. You know what I'm talking about? Because nobody don't want to, you feel like, well, you shouldn't do people like that. Well, you shouldn't have did Yahuwah like that by claiming his name and sinning. You shouldn't have did that. But nobody cares about that. Talking about, oh, they should have did that. Why should you get a baby shower and you, what I told the lady is, if you're not in the word, it don't matter. But when you inside the house, there is a standard. There's a standard. And if that man decides that, hey, man, you're going to have to stand up here in front of these people and confess this, and no, we not finna have no baby shower for you. He did not belittle this woman. He did not besmirch this woman. He didn't do any of that. I seen somebody had a nerve to say he without sin cast the first stone. He didn't condemn the woman. He just said, you're going to have to stand in front of these people and confess your sins. Now, her apologizing to the church, I don't know what you're apologizing to me for. You ain't sinned against me. You know what I'm talking about? So there's no need for no apology. You don't need to apologize to the congregation unless you lied to them. Then you need to apologize to that person who you lied to. You know what I'm talking about? But outside of that, that's what the problem is. Nobody wants a standard. When I heard this man like, oh, no, that ain't right. No, man, check this out. Now, I done told y'all this before. All right, bro, if you having sex with that woman, cool. Marry her or leave her alone. Because if you don't have the integrity, the honor, and the value of saying that this is what I am, what I claim as a man, okay, I did this here. I'm either going to do this here because this is just before God. If you can't do that, you a buster. You know what I'm talking about? You a buster. It's something wrong with you, cuz. How you going to sit here and have sex with the woman, but you don't want to marry her? But you want to steal food with her, but you still want to lay with her. Well, that's not godliness, bro. We don't condone nor stamp that. Ain't going to stamp it. And I don't care which one of you niggas don't like it. You can unsubscribe. I wouldn't give a damn, but we're not co-signing that, cuz. We're not co-signing that. I'm not going to tell you, everybody's saying, ain't nobody trying to hear that, bro. If you know what the standard is, man, and you say patently, I am going to flaunt and break that standard, that's representative of your character, man. I'm not going along with that to appease you. I'm not co-signing that, bro. You know why? Because I'm not going to hell for co-signing some junk you got going on, and I know you doing it, and I'm like, well, you know, it's not a big deal. Hell no. You're going to go to hell by yourself, because I'm not co-signing that, bro. I promise you I'm not. You can feel how you want to feel. The problem is that we don't consider this is literally life or death, and you playing games because you worry about not being liked. That man say, should I please man or should I please Elohim? If I please men, I wouldn't be the servant of Elohim. It is not my job to satisfy you. That is not my job. Because at the end of the day, I serve you, but I don't work for you. You know what I'm talking about? I do not work for you at all. I got to answer for the man who I work for. I got to answer to him. I don't got to answer to you. And if you desire one day to be a preacher and a leader, this man people is before his righteousness is concerned, that's the mentality that you must have. I don't want to hear no excuses. That's another problem with people, man. People do stuff out of pocket. You want to make excuses, man. Don't nobody want to hear that. Man, hey, man, tighten up on your backstroke. That's as simple as that. As simple as that. Because this your soul. This is why people don't get it together. They don't get it together because everybody gonna make an excuse, give you an out. Ain't no outs, bro. Ain't no outs, bro. That man say bind up the testimony. It's narrow, man. It's straight. It's pressure. You know what I'm talking about? Now you either handle that pressure or you can sit your monkey behind down somewhere. Because he went through that pressure. So how you think you're not gonna go through it? But you ain't even gotta, let me hold on. 2 Corinthians 12. There's too many verses coming to my head, and we ain't gonna make them there if I keep going like that. Well, praise Yahuwah. Indeed, Omar, man. This is what they say, verse 7. And also, let me mention verse 6, right? You see how he say he would desire to esteem, but he won't be a fool lest a man think above that which he see me to be or hear me. Got to stay humble, blood. A lot of y'all want to be seen. And I'm not saying y'all like any of y'all specifically, but if, you know, that shoe fit your, you know, foot shell foot, you know, go ahead, lace that hole up, go run around the track. You know what I'm talking about? But you don't want people to see you above that which you is, man. You know, it's okay to say, you know, I'm just a regular guy. It's a servant of God. You know, you don't need all this extra stuff, man. It's unnecessary. All it's going to do is set you up for a big old fall, and that fall going to be where the worm dies not, and the fire shall not be quenched. And for what? Man's esteem and man's validation? That's enough to go to hell for you? That's cool for you? Verse 7, 2 Corinthians 12. Lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations, there was given to me a thorn in the flesh, that the messenger of Hashatan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. Say, Church of God in Christ is the only church affiliation that I heard make a woman stand up in front of the church and apologize for getting pregnant outside of marriage. Now, I'm going to tell y'all something, and this is just being honest with you. Do you necessarily have to make somebody stand before people confess their sins? Not necessarily. You don't have to. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. It's really at that it's really if you're talking about an assembly, a gathering of believers, you know what I mean? He doesn't have to, but they're not wrong if they say, hey, you got to confess that. And again, it's not anything extra that the preacher is supposed to add. This person is supposed to confess their sins. This is for everybody else to know. Let me walk light. Let me read it to you, man, where he told Timothy that in 1 Timothy 5 and 20. Right here, 1 Timothy 5 and 20. That's 2 Timothy. They ain't going to do nothing for it. He says, them that sin, rebuke before all, that others also may fear. I charge you before Elohim and the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach and the elect Malachim that you observe these things without preferring one before another, doing nothing by partiality. No respect of persons. You know what I'm talking about? It don't matter who it is, who did it. It don't matter. It don't matter. See, I know a lot of people, and especially because it's a young lady who came up pregnant. So, you know, a lot of people will say, well, where's the dude? This, that, there, and the third. And I can't answer that question. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, because I'm not talking to the preacher in that situation. Let me read you Deuteronomy 13 so you can see it in the law. So, which is interesting, when you saw the movie regarding the Clark sisters, which is under Kojic, it was alleged some of the sisters had pregnancy and abortions, but you never heard about them doing this. Maybe because it was a stain it would bring on the mother who had they probably covered it up. I don't doubt it. They probably covered it up. Let me tell you something. People cover up stuff for women. People cover up stuff for men. All depends on who it is in the organization. I definitely just seen a lady post where somebody reshared this on Facebook, man, talking about some junk some dudes got going on, talking about we left your camp because somebody had sex with another man's wife and the elder covered it up. And she said, none of you are fit to lead a flock. See, one thing I don't do is I don't really speak on what's going on in other people's congregation because I don't know. Just because somebody come up and say this person did this and this person did that, I'm not going to run off tackle with it. I wasn't there. So unless the individual who this accusation or allegation is being levied against is saying, yeah, I did that, you know what I'm saying? Then, hey, man, it just is what it is. You have to learn to, everything does not require to give you a response just because you see something and you feel like you need to give your opinion because you hate this and you don't like that. See, you out of order and you out of pocket. You know what I'm talking about? Because you don't know what's going on. That's not proper judgment. You're judging according to appearance. You're not judging righteous judgment. You don't have enough applicable information to even make an assessment or a judgment about anything. Because somebody said something? What if somebody said you was a thief? What if somebody said you was an adulterer and then they running and they spreading that, but you ain't did none of that? You doing the same thing. Don't you know law? Let me read you something in your law real fast. Before I read this Deuteronomy 13, let me read you the Exodus 23, man. That's where y'all got to start remembering stuff like this here, man. Niggas be running around here and you be violating Torah that you say you hold fast to so greatly. Exodus 23:1 say you shall not raise a false report, put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shall you speak in a clause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Man, you ain't supposed to be doing that type of stuff, man. You don't know what's going on. You just supposed to hold your peace. Because like I said, with that lady, that young lady in that congregation, I don't know if the man who got her pregnant was in that congregation. I don't know if it was a man who was outside the congregation. If it's a man outside the congregation, the pastor can't hold him accountable. He ain't a member. How you going to call this man here and hold him accountable? Hold him accountable to what? He don't even serve God. He don't care. Now, if the man who got her pregnant was a member of that congregation and he didn't bring that man up there with her, then he out of pocket. Because they both should have been up there. She say low key or cold. But yeah, man, if a woman's a high position in the church and her daughters or her sons doing X, Y, Z, yeah, people will cover that stuff up so that they don't look bad. I ain't covering up nothing. My son right here, get out. Look here, man. This bald head nigga got a girl pregnant, man. Look at this nigga right here. That's what we gonna do. Ain't nothing to cover up. So guess what? You're gonna go out like Eli. Exodus 13. Hey, don't come in here with that. Exodus 13 is 6. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, your daughter, the wife of your bosom, your friend, which is of your own soul, entice you secretly, saying, let us go serve other gods, which you have not known, you nor your fathers, of the gods of the people which are round about you, near unto you, far off from you, from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth, you shall not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him. Neither shall your eye pity him, neither shall you spare, neither shall you conceal him, but you shall surely kill him, and your hand shall be first upon him, to put him to death, and afterwards all the hand of the people. And you shall stone him with stones that he die, because he sought to thrust you away from Yahuwah your Elohim, which have brought you out of the land of Mizraim, out of the house of bondage. And all Yasharal shall hear in fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you. Now, of course, you ain't finna be out here stoning nobody, so the purpose is you rebuke before all. It's the same thing when they tell you that in Deuteronomy 17. If somebody speak presumptuously, the people shall hear in fear and do no more presumptuously. That is the point. Matter of fact, come over here to Deuteronomy 19 and 15. And this is, of course, for some of you who don't know, this is the reason why I told you, you can't come to me and tell me somebody did something and I'm going to run off tackle because you said they did it. If you can't say that while they standing right there, as far as I'm concerned, it means nothing to me. I'm not going to tell you that you're lying, but I'm not going to tell you that I'm not going to validate you, nor am I going to step to this person if you are not willing to make this accusation that you're making against them. You got to understand, when you saying somebody did X, Y, Z, you being a witness against them, man. If you being false witness, man, you just sin. Like, nobody considers any of these things, because what what everybody looking for? To have a reason to scandal monger. Let's just be honest. You want to put some evil on somebody's name. You want to make people not fool with them because maybe they said or did something you didn't like. And man, the book say you supposed to die for that. You can't be doing people like that, man. Or you in your feelings because you upset. Man, you got to get out your goddamn feelings, man. You ain't got no business in your feelings, man. Ever. Not if you say you a servant of God. Get out your feelings and be in the Ruach. Stay out your feelings. What your feelings gonna do for you but deceive you? Your feelings gonna have you doing something that you might lose your soul about. See, it don't take a multiple different things to lose your soul. It only take one. That's all it take. It only take but one thing. One time. One bad decision. That's all it take. That's why I say if we walk in the spirit, we should live in it. You should stay in it. There's no need. When you're in your feelings, that means you're carnal. And if you're carnal, that means your mind is enmity against the law of Elohim because it can't be subject to it. That means you could never surrender or be submissive to this man's will. Your carnal mind is abjectly against this man's will. There's no way around that. Now, that's a decision that we all have to make. What's important to you? To some people, that's not important to them. They just want to make excuses. And that's fine. But that man ain't going to want to hear that when you see him. Let me tell you something, man. I don't know if any of y'all ever stood before a judge before in your lifetime, but one thing for certain, two things for sure. Them people don't want to hear them sob stories and excuses you trying to sell, and they got evidence to the contrary that you guilty of what you standing there for. Them people don't want to hear that. So if you know man don't want to hear it and he's an unjust judge, what you think the just judge want to do? Deuteronomy 19 and 15. You say, my experiences is some people in the world will judge either respecting a person or what they think going on. It's disheartening when you're doing the word and try to learn it. Man, most of these niggas in the word do the same thing. See, some people, they used to think, oh, this nigga gonna go. I ain't never really went off on nobody. That's only one thing I went off about. And that was somebody having sex while their child was in the room. And this was not their husband. You know what I'm talking about? I said, now you just a dirty dog bastard. I'm like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Listen, right? Everybody human. You got urges. You're fooling with somebody. Stuff happens. I get that. That's nothing to go off about. Unless you just around here just sleeping with everybody. But to disrespect your child like that and to disrespect yourself and to allow this man to disrespect you in the same fashion, oh no. Oh no. I said, oh no. You wild. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a little bit more respect for yourself. It was really for the disrespect for the baby. You know what I'm saying? You can't be that horny. You could have dropped him off somewhere before you did that. You could have put him in the living room. You know what I'm talking about? You ain't have to do that. Deuteronomy 19 and 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, and any sin that he sinned. At the mouth of two witnesses or the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. If a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him wrong, then both the man between whom the controversy shall stand before Yahuwah, before the priest, and the judges, which shall be in those days. See, people don't want to hear that because they feel like, oh, I ain't got to deal with nobody, because the people don't like structure and order. Yeah, if you in the congregation, that's how it's supposed to go. Yeah, before Yahuwah, the priest, whoever. The pastor, the apostle, whoever's over that congregation, yeah, he got to be there. You think Yahuwah's going to come down and judge the matter? That's what he got them for. Paul let you know, let the least in the congregation judge it. Ain't that what he said? So man gonna judge it. Nigga don't want to judge it because you feel like he can't say nothing about me. See, you a rebellious disciplinary problem. See, most people, when the word, you're a disciplinary problem. You hate structure, you hate order, you hate discipline, you hate teaching, you hate instruction, but you got God's name in your mouth every day. Shit, your funky behind down somewhere. You is a disobedient, rebellious child is what you is. You indignant and you're repugnant. You know what I'm talking about? Because you're giving off a pungent odor that does not smell of a sweet smelling savor in the nose of Yahuwah. And it's obvious that when you come in the word, nobody don't want that discipline. You can't come in this man's house and do what you want to do. How many of y'all grew up? You know what the problem is? Too many of us grew up in a house where you could do what you want to do. You could climb on the furniture. You could bust up the walls. Like, where is the ability to be able to say, no, you can't come in my house and do that? One thing y'all know, I wouldn't give a damn. Not one single solitary child is going to come in my house and do what they want to do. You're not writing on my walls. You're not climbing on my furniture. You're not running in my house. You're not doing none of that because this is my house. That's for my children and all. I wouldn't give a damn. You know what I'm talking about? I built this brick by brick. You is not finna come in here and tear this up because this is what you want to do and you think I'm supposed to let you? No, I'm not letting you do that because you know what's going to happen? They're going to go out the door and think they can do what they want to do wherever they go. They're not going to respect no structure, no order, no discipline, no nothing because that's what I taught them. They can come in the house and do what I want to do with daddy. I can do it everywhere else. And they're going to go out the door and find out the world don't care about you like daddy do. The world's not going to accept that. And they're going to go out the door and be a rebellious disciplinary problem. Greetings, Sister Trevina. Nah, man. Absolutely not. I don't come from that. I couldn't do what I wanted to do in my mama's house. I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I went to my daddy's house. I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I was at my grandparents' house. I couldn't do what I wanted to do when I was at my auntie's house. That wasn't going down like that. They would let it be known, this is my house. And if you want to be in this house, then this is what you're going to do when you in this house. And if you don't want to do that, you can get out. Because I'm not bending, folding, changing nothing to appease your delights and desires to what you want to do in my house. I will not. Like I told you, man, when Joanne was first born, some people, you say, oh, man, she going to have you wrapped around her finger. You're lying to me. You lying to me. No, she won't. She's not going to get to do what she want to do, how she want to do it. Absolutely not. And I ain't got to be beating on this child or nothing. It's just going to be a boundary. You're not going to cross it. I'm going to stop you every time. I'm going to check you every time. I'm going to say something to you every time. I ain't letting nothing go. Ever. Because the minute you start letting stuff go, then they know, okay, you're not serious. I ain't letting nothing go. I ain't got to beat on you to let you know that this is a boundary you can't cross. I ain't got to do all that. But you going to know. Absolutely not. Say like the military, some of the best structure and discipline you had in your life. If you didn't get with the program, you got discipline. And if you still went against the grain, you got put out. It's just that simple. It's just, and guess what? The house of Yahuwah is the same way. You get out of pocket, you get discipline. You still want to get out of pocket, he put you out. He put you out. You're not going to do that. You can't come in the house of Yahuwah and do what you want to do. Didn't he tell you that in Jeremiah 7? You think you delivered to come in this house and commit whoredom and worship other gods and do this and do that? And you say you've been delivered to do this? Come on, man. Come on, man. Verse 18, Deuteronomy 19. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition. Behold, if the witness be a false witness and have testified falsely against his brother, then you shall do unto him as he thought to have done unto his brother. So shall you put the evil from among you. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. And then, of course, you know, Proverbs tell you open rebuke is better than secret love. And if he openly rebuked his son, then what you think gonna happen to you? She said he's speaking through them wildfires. Them wildfires is heavy out there. You seen that? It is. You steal it? It's mine. Vanilla. Look like you stealing. Jamal, she stealing? Oh, you got your eye on that because you want something. Come on back to 2 Corinthians 12. Yeah, you got to remember that, man. So these people be going in, man. Oh, I hate the camp. You hate God, nigga. You just want to use that junk as an excuse. I don't sit around talking about people congregation. I don't care what these people got going on. They ain't got nothing to do with me. And when I say that, meaning in totality, if somebody come and say, hey, I went through this, you know, you can have compassion talking to them, but I ain't finna jump up, oh, them wicked people over there, such and such. I'm not finna do that. I don't know what them people got going on. What's happening with your homie? I don't know what them people got going on, man. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Not and claim to be just before God. You can't do that. Sometimes you got to just know when to be quiet. You can listen. You can be empathetic. You can be sympathetic. You can have compassion, you know what I'm saying, on somebody and not condemn anyone. Because what you're supposed to be focusing on is how to help heal and make that person whole versus trying to castigate and denigrate whoever they speaking against. You ain't got to do all that. That's not necessary. You know what I'm saying? But see, most of us, you ain't really trying to make this person whole. You're really just trying to find a way to destroy who you call the enemy. You don't really care about them. They just a pawn in your propaganda machine, if you would, in my estimation. You know what I'm saying? But who am I? 2 Corinthians 12 and 7. And you should remember from the book of Judges, he said how he would leave some of the nations as a thorn in Yasharal's side. Lest I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelation that was given to me, a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Hashatan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather esteem in my infirmities, that the power of Hamashiach may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Hamashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. This is the purpose of why you go through that binding up the testimony with his disciples. Let me tell you what a disciple is in case you're not aware. This is back in Isaiah 8 and 16, by the way. I ain't even got to verse 20 yet to read that, but Lord willing, y'all already know what it says. So remember, when you're dealing with a disciple, that is, well, this one here is a lamud. This is lamad, mean, dalit. This is taught, learned, disciple, taught, accustomed to something. This is one who has learned, one who has been instructed. Now, I want to come to Luke 14 just on the house. We still got Matthew 7, and I can't remember the chapter in Judges. I'll tell you when I get around it. But Matthew 7, and certainly. God dang it. Man, this thing be pissing me off, man. Yeah, they're trying to enter the room. I'm sorry about that, man. That junk just ended the room. Like, that junk really be aggravating me when it comes to that. You touch the wrong doggone thing, and that junk just end that thing, man. Luke 14 and 26. Well, 25. He said, this is the cost of being one of his learned ones. There went a great multitude with him. And he turned and said unto them, if any man come unto me and hate not his father, mother, and wife, and children, and brethren, sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. See, I hate when people read this verse who don't believe in the Lord. See, he said, hate your father and mother. The law say, honor your father and mother. Shut your mouth. Because he also tell you in Exodus, don't have no other God before me. Didn't we just read in Deuteronomy? He told you it wouldn't matter if it was your mother's son, your brother, your mom, if they came to worship, but told you to worship another God, you were supposed to be the first one to stone them. Ain't that what your law said? That's all he's saying. This is why these niggas can't be taught by God, because they stupid. Intentionally. Some of these people, their whole objective is to discredit the Lord, but yet don't follow the very Torah that they claim to uphold. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I be wanting y'all to be laser specific on these wicked people. They unbelievers are the part of the book that they promote. They don't even believe that. But they want to spend all their time pointing against what you believe. Whosoever do not bear his stake and come after me cannot be my disciple. This man cannot teach you if you are not willing to have self-discipline. That means you need to know how to control your mouth. You need to know how to control your flesh. You need to know how to control your emotions. You need to be able to put all these things to death. He that suffered in the flesh ceased from sin. He say, arm yourself likewise with the same mind. Hamashiach suffered in the flesh. This is what Peter told you. He that suffered in the flesh ceased from sin. You ain't got to be out here cussing nobody out. Again, we talked about this last week. What you say and what you do is representative of your husband. Stop making it about you. Stop making it about you. It's not about you. Look here, man. I would wager that every one of us here, someone has said something to piss you off, and you probably wanted to call them everything under the sun. Probably some people you wanted to punch them in the mouth. But then you have to realize something. Once you do that, now how they going to respond about your God? You think he going to justify you with that? That man say he that is angry, he say anger rests in the bosom of fools. I know ain't none of y'all no fool. So if you let your anger get the best of you and then you lash out, then according to this book, you are a fool. That man say the execution of wrath work not the righteousness of God. He say be slow to wrath. Your God slow to wrath. So if you quick to pop off, is the Spirit of God really in you? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves. You can't make the justification. I wouldn't give a damn what nobody say. That ain't got nothing to do with how you respond. Stop making excuses. How does another nigga got enough power over you to dictate how you behave? That means you ain't as strong and powerful as you say you is. If somebody can say something to you to get a reaction out of you, that means you weak. That means you weak mentally, you weak emotionally, and you weak spiritually. Because somebody got puppet strings on you. They can make you dance when they want you to dance. Like you have to look at that. So especially each time, I didn't always hold my peace, but there were times I did for the sake of y'all. And it's challenging, being called names. Oh, I definitely. I mean, look here, let me tell y'all something. Let's just be honest. Don't nobody like to be disrespected. Don't nobody want to be called names. Don't nobody want to be dealt with any kind of way. Ain't nobody saying anybody want to deal all that. But don't you realize that's a part of him binding up the testimony? Because all these things is what the Son of God went through. And Peter let you know that when he was reviled, he reviled not. And when let me read it to you. 1 Peter chapter 1. All this stuff is about what this man went through, about being perfected. Now, if you don't want to be perfected, it don't matter. 1 Peter chapter 2, I'm sorry, not chapter 1. 1 Peter 2 and 21. For even hereunto were you called, because of Mashiach also suffered for us. That's right, Herman. Leaving us an example that you should follow in his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, and who, when he was reviled not again, and when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judged righteously. Indeed, say Timothy, being a good soldier of a Mashiach, oftentimes soldiers that are self-willed will make the general upset with other soldiers. You know, it can't. You have to realize that. He said sometimes you have to realize you have to do the same thing that Jacob did. Let your righteousness speak for you and commit yourself to him who judges righteously. That's all you have to do. It's easy to do that when you trust in him. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to respond to everything. Like when you do that, you're giving your energy away to things of no consequence. And you don't need to do that. Also, this can show that Satan can manipulate you with these very things that you allow to upset you. And like I said, man, and you can see it in the book, it don't take but one time to get cut off. So you have to be on top of that, man. People gonna try you. People gonna say things you don't like. It's gonna happen. The issue is not that it's gonna happen; it's how you respond to it. He said it because I'm just praying. So I know so. Yeah, I get you. It do, and then a lot of stuff is just natural too. Like, who wants to be called out their name? Who wants to be disrespected? Nobody wants to be misused. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. And I'm not saying that it's not going to make you upset. What we talking about is we move into godliness. So when you talking about godliness, you got to have a certain type of mind frame. Come over here to Proverbs 14:29. Listen to what he say. We still holding Luke 14. Come over here to Proverbs 14:29. And that page is not in this book. Proverbs 14:29 say, he that is slow to wrath is of great understanding, but he that is hasty of spirit exalt folly. Now, what does this mean? Listen to what he's telling you, man. He say, if you are slow to wrath, if you are a rat, patient, slow to anger, which is the same word for long suffering, which is one of the attributes of Yahuwah when he proclaimed his name. He said that he was long suffering, which means you are slow to wrath. Of course, wrath is that is anger. So you are slow to anger. He said you have a great tabun. What is that? Understanding, intelligence, the act of understanding, insight, discretion, reason, skillfulness. And also that is tau, ba, u, and nun. He said, but if you have a hasty spirit, hasty in this instance is kasar, which is kaf, sod, and raj. That means you're short and impatient. Or you have a short temper. He said, if you have a hasty ruach or a short-tempered spirit, you will lift up folly, which is ever left foolishness. This is what he told you. Say, why do you think some people see that as a weakness when they reference Matthew 5:39? Oh, I got you. Because everybody want to be a macho man. They want to be a macho man. James chapter 1. That's all. Everybody just want to be tough and prove that ain't nobody going to try me and this other type of stuff. It's really just pride. Say death is a prize and hell is the finish line. It certainly is. 1:19, James. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. For wrath of man work not the righteousness of Elohim. And you should see that when you look at what Cain did to Abel. That don't work the righteousness of God. It just don't. And you have to be able to get that anger under control. Again, that man said, if you're short-tempered, he said you're going to lift up foolishness. So we have to be careful because he said there's a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to sit around here and try to be justifying yourself in everything that you do, or trying to play a perpetual victim to justify your conduct, which is what a lot of brews do, to keep it a bean. Back to Luke 14. This is a part of taking up your stake. Because you can't say you following after him and he didn't behave like. All this is a part of that pressure, that straightness, that distress, because it's not just the distress of what you experience in life, it's the stress in that flesh. You come in that straight gate. I told you some people like it, wide and loose. They don't like it right and tight. You know what I'm saying? A lot of boy, they like that loose booty, man. Because they ain't got to feel nothing when it's loose. When it's tight, you're going to feel something. You know what I'm talking about? You're going to feel that pressure. You don't understand, man. Man, that pressure is to squeeze the impurities out. But see, we want to hold on to the impurities because, like I said, man, a lot of us, you want to play the victim. Look here, man. Everybody ain't had negative things happen to them, but most of us had. But what somebody did to you or what you experienced is no justification for your behavior as a grown adult. You have the responsibility of overcoming whatever that is, because the rest of the world don't owe you no understanding. One thing I can say, man, my mama told me every day of my childhood, the world don't owe you nothing. Don't nobody out here owe you nothing. They don't owe you understanding. They don't owe you compassion. They don't owe you nothing. You know what I'm talking about? So regardless of what your people did to you or didn't do to you, you can't come out here in the world and think people are supposed to feel sorry for you and this, that, there, and the third. They don't even know you. What do I mean by that? Meaning that you behave in a certain way with people and you interact with people in a certain way. And the reason why you're interacting with them is based off what you experienced. But that person don't owe you understanding on, well, since you went through that, because they don't know that. They just know that you're not pleasant to be around, that you're incorrigible. You know what I'm talking about? That you're a disciplinary problem, that you're disrespectful. Because why would you think that people gonna ask about insight into your personal life, into your childhood? Ain't nobody finna ask you all that. All they gonna know is, I don't want to deal with him. You don't know how to talk to people. Why would I want to talk to you? You're disrespectful. So I definitely try to treat others. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, man, I didn't do it to you. Man, I remember I was working at KFC, man. White dude come up to the drive-thru talking all crazy. When he got to that window, I said, man, you better watch your mouth, man. No, I ain't did nothing. You don't talk to me like they say, my bad, man. I'm having a bad day. This happened to me. I said, that's all well and good, cuz, but I ain't do that to you, though. Don't bring that to me, because I ain't do nothing to you. I am not responsible for nothing nobody did to you. I ain't walking around your triggers. I'm not walking on eggshells, because I ain't doing none of that. Because that's a personal problem with you. Go get some help. Go get some help. I'm not responsible for that. And you have to realize that the world is not responsible for your inward problems. You're responsible for them. How long are you going to use what happened to you as an excuse of why you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing as a man? You know what I'm talking about? Say, especially like Christ said, the world getting cold, and Timothy. Yeah, nah, man. And listen, right? It's not that, and when I say that too, let me be specific, because I'm glad you said it. It's not that people won't have compassion or empathy for what you've experienced, but if I don't know you in this capacity, why would you expect for me to have empathy or compassion because you are responding in a certain way based on something that happened to you and I don't know that, and you think I should have understanding with you on something that I don't know and I'm not responsible for? I don't know you like that. Ain't nobody finna be asking you these probing questions about what happened to you when you was 8. You're 35 now. Let me tell you something, man. I know a lot of people ain't gonna want to hear this. Man, don't nobody want to hear nothing about what happened to you as a child and you over 30. Don't nobody want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? There has to come a point in time, and this ain't the first time I done said this, because I done had men get mad with me because I told them that. Bro, go get some help, bro. You're 30 years old. You're 30. Nobody don't want to hear that. If you're not actively doing anything to overcome that, I don't want to hear that. Because you're responsible for your own healing. You're responsible for your maturation. You're responsible for your growth. And I'm not going to tiptoe around the fact that you don't want to make yourself better because it's easier for you to play the victim. You know what I'm talking about? It's easier for you. Nobody want to hear no victimhood story and you're 50. You're 45, you're 40, you're 35. Don't nobody want to hear that. At that point, nigga gonna look you in the face and say, nigga, you a loser. Say, is it okay for a longtime friend to talk to you angrily because 1 or 2 people passed away? Now, you have to understand something when somebody done passed away. You know, they say they got the 5 stages of grief, and one of them is anger. If somebody has passed away, you just got to have a little bit of patience. They got a lot of emotions going through them, man. And especially depending on who passed away or how they passed away, you know what I'm saying? That's different. You know what I'm saying? That's death. That's something totally different. You know what I'm saying? Everybody handles death differently. That's a completely different scenario. You know what I'm saying? Completely different scenario. Because Look here, right? They just had the 49ers play, I think, Ward. I can't pronounce his first name. But he said he probably won't re-sign with the 49ers because he said he got PTSD because his daughter died at 1 year old. And every time he come out to California, you know what I'm saying? He said he go to vomiting and all this other type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? That affected him in a deep level emotionally. You know what I'm talking about? That, you know what I'm saying? He say he getting helpful, but he got to work his way through that. That's different. Death is a completely different situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm also talking about a lot of people have had negative experiences in their childhood, maybe a negative experience, you know, in adulthood with something, and then they use that negative experience and how that situation, which is what trauma means by definition, and alters your thought process and how you move. And then they allow that altering of their mind to dictate how they behave and interact with other people and feel like the whole world owes them because this negative situation happened to them, while they're not actively trying to correct that situation. When I say correct it, meaning to heal themselves so they can be the functional adult that they should be. And then they care. I know too many dudes who be like, man, my daddy did this or my mama did that. This happened to me. Bro, we 40, bro. I don't want to hear that because I heard you say that when we was 17. And then I heard you say that when we was 22. And then you were saying it when we were 28. Now we 40 and you still talking about that, bro. I don't want to hear that. Because you should have did something about it. You didn't want to do anything about it because it wasn't important to you. Because some people ain't living in no trauma. They just use that as an excuse to justify their bad behavior and terrible decision making. Yes, it also depends on it because my homie lost his dad a few weeks ago and he didn't take his anger out. But everyone, man, depending on who passed away, bro, it changed everybody, bro. It's, you know what I'm saying? Depending on who it is, it's gonna change it. And it is what it is. It don't make you any less than a person, man, or nothing. Just make you a human being. You know what I'm saying? As we talked about that a couple weeks ago, it is okay for you to be a human being. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's certain life things that it's gonna change the way that you view things. It just is what it is. Nevertheless, you can't allow the things that happen to you to be a justification for your bad conduct or your bad decision making. Absolutely, you can make it though. You know what I'm saying? I've had 9 family members pass away in the last. Oh, my condolences. I'm sorry to hear that. So, understand it's been a pattern they've been doing throughout our friendship, not just one time. So I'm trying to figure out how. Man, sometimes, man, when somebody pass away, bro, sometimes it ain't nothing to try to figure out. Sometimes it's just, man, just let them talk. You know what I'm saying? Like my cousin's son passed away, man. I just don't come up there. If she was a hit member, she want to talk, then she can talk. I ain't got nothing to say. Ain't no judgment to pass. You just, let them get that off their chest. You know what I'm saying? Because at least on her end, that's something she gonna carry with her for the rest of her life. That's not something that's gonna go away. Like shoot, next month her mama would have been gone for 25 years. That's gonna still affect her. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't no, you know what I'm saying? It's not a negative thing. You know what I'm saying? You can't just walk around and say like, hey man, that junk ain't no big deal. Because for some people, death is hey, woo, 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 they keep on pushing. Some people don't. One thing you can't do, and I've told you this plenty of times in a multitude of situations, you can't feel like because you wouldn't respond that way or you don't do that way that everybody shouldn't do that. Man, everybody ain't you. And you can't have that attitude. That attitude really shows a total lack of care and compassion for human beings and a level of self-righteousness and arrogance to be 100% honest with you. You know what I'm saying? That person ain't you. Why are you expecting them to respond to that? The way you would respond to it. That's how you would respond to it. You know what I'm saying? It's not your duty to tell somebody how to respond. It's your duty to be able to walk with them. The man didn't say tell people to respond like you. He say bear your brother's burden. All you got to do is walk with them. You know what I'm saying? If they going through something and they upset or they want to cry about it, well, let them cry. You know what I'm saying? Like good grief. You know what I'm saying? If they want to talk about it, let them talk about it. Some people need to talk about certain things out loud, man. That's the way they handle things. Everybody ain't you, man. You say, how should a wife act to be when her husband has childhood issues, but allow their anger to take over when dealing? That nigga need therapy. You know what I'm saying? All I can tell you with that one there is the only way that you can respond to that type of behavior is to respond. And I hate to say evil, but I say evil in the aspect of the definition of disagreeable behavior is to respond with that with kindness and good. Because to be honest with you, that ain't got nothing to do with you. That's something that's going on inside of him. You're not responsible for that. There's nothing that you can do about that. You know what I'm saying? That's something that he got to do for himself. The only thing you can do is respond back in a godly fashion. But truth be told, he needs some type of therapy. Because once you get to the point where you allowing what happened to you to spill over to your wife and kids, that's an issue. If it's to spill over to your husband and kids, or your friends, or your family, whatever you got going on inside of you, once it spills out in a negative way to other people, that is a surefire sign to seek that you need to go get some help. You know what I'm saying? Oh, ain't no big deal about no misspelling. You know what I'm saying? You need to go get some help. You know, I know black people don't think you need to go talk to somebody, man. You need to go sort that out. You know what I'm saying? But again, since that ain't got nothing to do with you. Clearly, you already know that these are childhood issues. So, and I'm just saying that to not take that personally. Also, I'm saying that for you to plainly say to your children, hey, when daddy get upset, if daddy get upset, hey, that ain't got nothing to do with you, baby. Daddy had some things happen to him. And sometimes, you know, he get upset because he's trying to process what happened to him. Like, you could tell that to your children so they can understand it. Because then if you tell them that, they could be able to say, Daddy, it'll be okay. They could give him a hug. And then he might, in that instance, sit back and understand, like, man, I might be tripping for real. You know what I'm saying? But definitely just let your children know, hey, when daddy get upset, daddy just had some things happen to him. It's hard for him. That's why he get angry, baby. It ain't got nothing to do with you. You ain't did nothing wrong. You ain't said nothing wrong. None of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's make sure you communicate that to them. You know what I'm saying? And the way that y'all respond to him might be, Lord willing, you know what I'm saying? The way that you will use to touch his mind for him to go get some help. Let me see what we got here. You say, wow, it's crazy you talking about this. My husband of 30 years passed on. Well, sure. My condolences, Sister Regina. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Yahuwah be with you. I'm sorry to hear that. Say the passing of your grandma, some of my family members still grieving. Yeah, man. And you know, word-wise, you know, we got 30 days. But we also know that depending on who it is, that's the reality of the situation, man. You know, it can, depending on who it is, it can hit you in a different fashion. You know what I'm saying? Well, Sister Gina, just let you know what I'm saying. You know, you can holler at me, man, if you need to. I'll put this in here if you need to. I know that's a lot. 30 years, a long time. We give thanks to Yahuwah. You got to spend 30 years with them, because shoot, most people definitely won't be able to say they was with their spouse for 30 years, I can tell you that. But yeah, if you need to talk, you know what I'm saying, you can definitely holler at me, man. I know that's a serious deal, right? Come on back over here to Luke 14. You know, because they're different, man. You know what I'm saying? That junk hits you different, depending on who it is, man. You can be prepped and primed and prepared for it. You could know that they was a servant of God, and you'll see him on the last day. You still gonna be sad. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. All this walking around trying to be tough like stuff don't bother you, man. That junk ain't cool. Everybody, some people to process stuff, they got to talk about it. Some people have the ability to process things inwardly. You know what I'm saying? Everybody different. But you know, if you don't got the ability to process that stuff, then you need to go find somebody to talk to. But that's what's wrong with people. You think you can handle stuff that you know you're not mentally, spiritually, and emotionally capable of handling. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make you a weak person because you acknowledge that I don't have the ability to handle this. This is literally what the word tell you to do. Say those that are strong ought to support the weak. It's okay. How do we sit back and you say you in the word, but you walk around like you tough? Ain't nothing bothering me. Yeah, of course there's something bothering you. You know, if you need to fast and pray, you know what I'm talking about? You do that to Yahuwah first, but yeah, you still supposed to holler at people, man. If you know that, hey, man, this Sunday, I can't walk this alone. Shoot, I already know that. I already know. Shoot, I was thinking about that boy the other day. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying? And with that, mentioning that, man, shoot, this year gonna be almost 10 years since Goldie passed, man. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, nigga, I was in the gym the other day. They were playing a song about a boy group called The Boys from back in the day. You know what I'm saying? That just instantly, you know, I went to think about my mama. Man, my mama bought me that tape, man. Used to sit and ride around in the car and play it because she knew I liked that song. Man, I could see her face. Nigga, I'm like 6, 7 at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that junk just is what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? That junk come at you like that when there's people that you actually love and care about. If it's somebody you don't care about, then you don't care. Luke 14:27. And whosoever do not bear his stake and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower sit not down first and count the cost whether he have sufficient to finish? Lest happily after he have laid the foundation and he is not able to finish it, all that behold it began to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to make war against another king sit not down first and consult whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that come against him with 20,000? Or else while there's yet a great way off, he sent an ambassador and desire conditions of peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsake not all that he have, he cannot be my disciple. If you're not willing to abandon your flesh and anything that could keep you separate from Yahuwah, he can't teach you. He can't teach you. You know what I'm saying? The man has a desire to teach you, but there are some prerequisites that are required, and because he has to know how serious you are about receiving that instruction. But let's come over here to the book of Numbers. And what I was going to get to for Mother Sharona, more than likely we'll get to it, y'all willing, on Shabbat. Because she asked about the aspect of fasting. But something that we talked about, because some of y'all who ain't been around back in the days. You know, when the feast days come around, we don't usually do what everybody do and tailor, you know, if it's atonement, an atonement specific lesson, and a Passover specific, because we've already done that. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean by that is we've already went over how Hamashiach filled these particular feasts. That's why I say this year, you know, whether it's our new year or this quote unquote, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Secular new year, according to these Anglo-Saxons, we will begin to revisit some of those things that we haven't talked about in almost a decade. So we went over how he fulfilled the affliction of atonement some years back. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to go back over that again. The reason why we just don't, it's atonement, it's trumpets, and we got to do a lesson because it's trumpets, is because if we're already dealing with a topic, we're going to continue to deal with what we already been dealing with. You know what I'm saying? But as I mentioned before, it's 2,000 videos almost on this channel. That is unreasonable ask to ask anybody to be like, go back and watch all those videos, knowing that y'all got jobs, children, spouses, etc. You know what I'm saying? It's just not reasonable. You know what I'm saying? And then most of you don't even know that it's 2 other channels that got more course material on it. So it's just not feasible. So Yahuwah willing, that is our objective for quote unquote 2025, is to revisit things that we have not talked about in a long season. So also, in case, because some of y'all don't take advantage of it, and some of you do, we do take requests. It's not that big of a deal. If it's something that you read, you don't understand, it's something that you just always wanted to know about, you can let that be known, because just like a radio disc jockey, we take requests. Definitely, I feel you on that, Mika. And always remember too what Mika just mentioned about fasting. If you're going to fast, make sure that your day is set apart of that you can fulfill most of that day for praying. Because when you're fasting, as it said in Isaiah 58, you're fasting so your voice can be heard on high. Because if you just fasted and then you wanted it, then you just were hungry all day. If you're going to seek that and you're going to afflict your soul, you're going to deny your body what it needs to live, then you should take that time to be focused that you are seeking your God in supplication, that prayerfully, according to the multitude of his mercies, that your voice would be heard and that request would be granted, whatever that might be. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm hoping you wouldn't be afflicting your soul to ask for a new job or an automobile or something of no consequence. That man he already know what you have need of. You don't have to trouble him with things of that sort. He already know that. You know what I'm saying? Just like every one of you, you know your kids need clothes because you buy them. You know your children need food because you buy it. They don't have to tell you these things. You don't have to tell that man those things. He already know you have need of those things. Just like he said, but if you seek the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, he can add that to you. You have to seek the things that are going to develop you spiritually so that you can be the person who it is that you say that you want to be. Now, I don't know if you want to be that or how badly you want to be it. Only you can answer that question. Only you can answer that question. You know what I'm saying? But you got to put your best foot forward and maximize the tools that he has given you in order to develop to being who it is that you want to be. Some people don't want to be that. That's why I say you got to count the cost. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that you can achieve in life and you're not going to have to put in some work. You know what I'm saying? We ain't talking about this work like people talk putting in work. It's got to work based salvation. We don't want to hear that goofy stuff these people be talking about, man. Man, if you're going to do something, man, you got to put in some work. See, the work here in this instance, what he talking about is the discipline, the self-control. You know what I mean? Where's this added number start? I want to look at it. Come over here, number 21 and 22. Yeah, come over here, 22, 21. Mm-hmm. Number 22 and 21. Don't forget that car seat out there. I don't know. Absolutely, 10K. Great reward requires great effort. And you know what the great effort is, to be honest with you? Just continually seeking Yahuwah and his righteousness. That's all the effort. And to take up your stake daily and follow him, to deny yourself. That's the effort that you got to give. That's it. That's really all you got to do. I know it don't sound easy for you to say, but in reality, is it really a lot? It's only a lot when you don't want to set this stuff to the side. It's only a lot when you don't want to do that. If it's what you want to do, it ain't a lot. Stuff only feel heavy when you don't want to let it go. When you want to let it go, it's light. Like this here. 22 and 21. Make sure I'm in the right spot with what I want. Yeah, and Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. Elohim's anger was kindled because he went. And the Malachim of Yahuwah stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the Malachim of Yahuwah standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. But the Malachim of Yahuwah stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the Malachim of Yahuwah, she thrust herself into the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the Malachim of Yahuwah went further and stood in the narrow place where there was no way to turn, either to the left hand, to the right hand, or to the left. Now notice how this donkey has taken this man into a what? A narrow pathway where there would be nowhere for him to turn. See, look at something right quick, right? I just want you to look at this narrow place in verse 26, I'm sorry. In 22 and 26, this narrow way. And when you look at narrow, guess what it is? Sar. And guess what that was? The same word that we seen somewhere else. Narrow, tight, straight, distress, affliction. That's what people don't understand. Look at what he took him to. When he took him into this spot, he was taking him into affliction, distress, the straits, the narrow place, the narrow path. See, come over here to Matthew 7, you did? Matthew 7 and 13. See, people like the wide gate and the broad way because there's no distress there. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no tribulation there. That's why they like it. That's what we mean when we say people like it loose. They like it loose because they ain't got to go through nothing. See, the reality in life is most people don't want to go through nothing. You know what I'm saying? But as we've discussed plenty of times, adversity reveals your character. Adversity, truth be told, and I'm a firm believer in this, all men must and needs go through some type of struggle. They need to know what it's like. They need to taste it. They need to feel it. They need to experience it. They need to overcome it. It is vital for their masculinity. Absolutely vital. You know what I'm talking about? Because if a man doesn't know any type of distress, any type of pain, any type of struggle of any sort, when he faces it, he's going to crumble. And anyone who is under his charge is soon to be destroyed with it. Because he doesn't know what to do. He won't know what to do. He will cower. And he will do one or two things. Look for his mama or look for his woman. A man who has experienced any type of struggle and adversity is going to look towards his God, and then he's going to look within himself, and he's going to dig deep and do the things necessary to overcome that. That's right. Say just like when he left Egypt, there was a shorter way to get there, but the Most High took the long way. It is. It's in 12, matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken. It might be 14, one of the two. And that's right, the law and the prophet, and we'll look at what that pressed into it. You need that. He said he took you through the furnace of affliction. He literally said, can you drink from the cup that I drink from? Which we read in Isaiah 51, it's a cup of affliction. All this is dealing with before we even get to the seal with the law, we have to deal with the bind up the testimony. You know what I'm saying? You got to deal with what that means. And that word bind literally means to take you through distress. Let me read that word bind for you one more time. Bind up, sarar, which is the lengthened version of the word that you've seen in Numbers. Again, that's Sar, Rosh, and Raj. Sarar, to be more specific, 868, 87. And again, to bind up, to tie up, to be narrow, to be in distress, to make narrow, to cause distress, to be straightened, to be bound for affliction, distress. And again, people don't like distress because it's uncomfortable. This is why he told you not to despise the chastening of Yahuwah. For whom Yahuwah loved, he chastened, because you're going to have to go through some distress. That's why he said in the world you'll have tribulation. And tribulation is not always how the church has framed it to us, if you would. It's just some manner of distress. Whatever that, and again, that's Sar. Sar is the shortened version of Sarar. Again, the Sarar was Sad, Rosh, and Raj. Sar is Sad and Raj. Narrow, tight, straight, distress. Also adversary, foe, enemy, oppressor. Nevertheless, Matthew 7 and 13. Hold on. Enter you in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that lead to destruction, and many there be which go thereat. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which lead unto life, and there be few that find it. Now, what is this? Let's look at this in Greek. What does it mean to go through the straight gate? And again, this is narrow, straight. Obstacle standing close about us. You remember, you look at that donkey took him into a way where he couldn't go to the left hand nor to the right. See, come over here to Proverbs 4 and 23, get some insight. Proverbs 4 and 23. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. One thing you need to do is you need to guard your inward man. A lot of people's biggest problem is you don't guard your inward man. And I'm not talking about guard your inward man like how people tell you to guard yourself from people. Because I don't think you need to really guard yourself from people. You just need to have acceptable boundaries on the things that you will and will not accept and hold to that. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to put walls up to keep people out. You just need to have boundaries. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, the donkey is, I was going to go through that. Give me a second. Because remember, the donkey crushed Balaam's foot. You know what I'm talking about? And that's a whole nother deal. I'll get to that in a second. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. So, of course, you know the keep is shamar. You know what I'm talking about? Well, this one here they have Nasar. Noon, Sod, and Rosh. That's the guard, to watch over, to keep, to guard from dangers, to keep close, to guard with fidelity. Fidelity is faithfulness. And he said you need to keep with all manner of faithfulness and with diligence. And diligence here is mishmar, meme, shan, meme, and Raj. That is to the place of confinement, the guardhouse, guard post. Now, why did he tell you this? He said because of the issues of life come through it. And when you look at issues, you know, this is to sa'ah. This is the same word that's used in Psalm 66. And that is the source of life, also escape from death or the border. In this instance, it's the source of life. He says, so out of your heart is the source of life. But what is that source of life that he's talking about? It's the word of God. So you need to guard it. You need to keep watch over that word that is in you. That's what he's talking about. You know what I'm talking about? He said, put away from you the froward mouth. This is verse 24. And perverse lips put far from you. Let your eyes look right on. Let your eyelids look straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet. Let all your ways be established. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Remove your foot from evil. See, notice that Balaam's foot got crushed because he didn't remove his foot from evil because he wasn't supposed to go with them people. He wasn't supposed to go with them people. You know what I'm talking about? So when you get this understanding of what it is, man, you got to ponder the path of your feet. See, when he put him in that straight gate, Balaam couldn't go nowhere but straight. Because that was the only way you were supposed to go. But let's continue to look at what's in Matthew. Now, he said narrow is the way that lead unto life. And narrow in this instance is thilabo. To press is grapes, to press hard upon, a compressed way, narrow, straightened, a metaphor to trouble, to afflict in distress, to afflict, to suffer tribulation, trouble. Notice that he told you that the gate is straight and the way is affliction. The way is affliction, and that see, people don't want to hear that. They don't want to deal with that. That's why Acts 14:22 tell you what. Y'all know what Acts 14:22 say? If you don't, I'm going to read it for you. Let me tell you what this broad was. I skipped right over that. I'm sorry. When you look at wide, that is plateaus, that is wide, that's spread out, that's flat, that's wide. And where's that broad at? And this one here is eucharos, which is spacious or broad. So when you look at that spacious way, you notice that when Balaam was on the donkey moving in that spacious way, he had no trouble. There was no distress. When he got in that narrow way, he got distressed. It got tightened. That's why people like that broad way, because there's no distress there. There's no trouble there. So when there's no distress and there's no trouble, there's no perfection, because there's no furnace of affliction for you to come out as pure silver. And that's what people want to avoid. That's what he really talking about. You come into that straight gate, you saying that you are acknowledging that you are willing to suffer for the kingdom of God. Remember what he told you, it behooved the Mashiach to suffer and to rise again the third day. Remember, he said, blessed are when men persecute you and cast your name as evil and separate you from the company. He said, because likewise they did to the prophets. He said, rejoice because your name is written in heaven. When you literally pay attention in Genesis to Malachi, you see the overwhelming theme of righteous men suffering affliction. You see an overwhelming theme of righteous men suffering distress. This is the overwhelming theme. Does that mean that you cannot have prosperous things in your life? That's not what that means. Because Abraham was wealthy and he still went through distress. You know what I'm talking about? So that's not necessarily the case. But you have to prepare your heart for suffering if you're going to come and fool with this man, because that's a part of it. Because guess what? The reality of life is this. Everybody loves to be with you when things are good. But you really see who fool with you when things are difficult. When you seen when things were difficult with Job, you seen that Job's friends weren't really his friends. You know what I'm saying? This is why one of the reasons why the book say, bear one another's burdens. That's why this is the why he say this is the law of a Mashiach, which a lot of people argue, the law of Christ or the law of Moses, but they don't know what that means, because the law of a Mashiach is to bear your brother's burdens. You know what I'm saying? To walk with your brother in affliction. To be a stay, a help, and a relief for this man. That's what that means. This ain't got nothing to do. They don't know what that means because they don't have his mind. So they thinking it's all, like I heard a dude say, to do the works of Christ is to feed the poor. You can feed the poor and still go to hell. Because everybody like to use Matthew 25. You're supposed to visit the sick. They never look at the fact that he said, if anyone who did this to the least of these, my brethren, did it unto me. He was talking about doing that to saints, not to random people. You going to feed a homeless man in the street don't mean you did it to the Lord. Because if that man ain't a servant of the Lord, that's not the least of his brethren. You just did a good deed. You just did a good deed. That's what you did. And he'll reward you for that deed. But you still gonna go to hell though. He said, do good to all men. Then Paul told you, but especially those who are of the household of the faith. He said, especially. See, most people who in the word take more pride of doing things for sinners than to do things for saints. That's amazing. That's amazing. That is amazing. That's not what he ordained. That's not what he set up. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, that Matthew 25 comes from something in Proverbs when he said, he that giveth to the poor, give to his maker. That's why the Lord said that in Matthew 25, because that's what Proverbs say. I'll just use myself as an example. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in the word, when I say in the word, I mean in the Lord. And the Lord is in me. And I'm doing his will. For sure, Omar, then that means that I'm his brother and he's my brother. So if I'm hungry and you fed me, you didn't feed me, you fed him. If I'm sick and you visited me, you didn't visit me, you visited him. Because if I no longer live, but a Mashiach who crucified himself lived within me, who did you do that for? If I'm naked and you clothed me, you didn't clothe me, you clothed him. This is the attitude that we all supposed to have. That's why I told you ain't supposed to look at people like they don't fellowship with us, so that ain't my brother and sister. You a buster. Why they got to sit down and hear the word with you in the same place? Why do you have that attitude? You mean to tell me you can't see Hamashiach in people unless they sit down and hear the word with you? Like I literally heard this goofy nigga last night tell this lady, why you ain't leave your congregation and go congregate somewhere else, and she married with children? What type of man of God would tell a woman to do that? Like, what's wrong with you? This is why I tell all you ladies, always. I don't say it as often anymore because most of the women here are married. But you need to make sure that whoever you fooling with, that what type of time you on, that you with that. Not hoping that they're going to change to something else. You need to fully know that the vision, the direction that he's going in, that you want to go in that direction. Not being infatuated, you know what I'm talking about? Not being intoxicated by how he make you feel. You have to be a grown adult. And if you're not a grown enough adult, then you need to go find your daddy. And if you ain't got your daddy, then you need to go find your granddaddy. And if you ain't got your granddaddy, then you need to go find your uncle or your older brother or some type of man who you respect that you know has got enough sense that he gonna tell you the truth and not tell you what you want to hear. Straight up and down. They keep playing this clip of Joy Taylor, and a lot of people acting crazy about that. But if you've been around enough women, you know this. She said that if you know if that man is fine enough, if he's rich enough, if he's funny enough, you'll throw all your rules in the trash can. And everybody here knows it. See, we like to play games. Oh, she's a sportscaster. She's currently embroiled in a lawsuit. She is the sibling of Hall of Fame linebacker Jason Taylor, who played for the Miami Dolphins. She works for Fox Sports 1. She's been there for about a decade. She's currently embroiled in some type of sexual harassment lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? Attractive lady. You know what I'm saying? I can say that even before this came out, I never seen the overwhelming lust that a lot of gentlemen had for. I mean, she's not an ugly lady, but she wasn't. She don't look as good for some of the brothers I've seen over the course of years to act the way they act, not this woman. But then again, a lot of brothers do that with women who are on television whom they'll never meet. But nevertheless, but there's a video of her saying this, and people want to act crazy. But any man who's been around enough women to knows that, yeah, man, about 95% of women will throw their boundaries and rules out the window for a man whom she is attracted to at a high level. Well, now that wasn't her for that was offered the 1.5 million. It was the lady who filed the lawsuit. Joy Taylor's not just named in there just to name it. The lady is suing her also. I forgot what she was. You'd have to read the whole lawsuit. But yeah, and it does. And a lot of women who in the word, they do the same thing. They're enamored with that man, so then they just go ahead and want to get down with this organization. Now, some of these women are already in these organizations. So my thing is you can't be a part of an organization, know what the standard is, and then marry a dude and then get mad when the dude holds to the standard of what you knew that they were teaching these people before you married him. That means you're not considering any of these things. You know what I'm saying? This young lady said last night they told her she wasn't in the word because she left, or they put her out. Well, that's what a lot of people do. But when you allow somebody to make you feel like you don't serve God because you're not there, that means you probably were never there to serve God in the first place, because your identity is tied up to your affiliation to this group of people. See, it's people who done left from here. See, a lot of people think when you leave a congregation, people going to talk about you. I don't talk about nobody when they leave. Could talk about you for what? I don't care what you left for. They ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times people leave because they want to do what they want to do. Some people, it's very few people that be like, you know what, I fellowshipped over here, now I want to fellowship over here. Yahuwah Baruch, Najee, must show. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. It's like, it's very few people who do that. I know a couple who did that. Like, hey man, I think I want a fellowship over here. All right, cool. It's not no big deal. Now it's gonna be like, yeah, see, they ain't in the word no more because they ain't over here. That's some real wicked stuff. You know, nobody owns anybody. You can fellowship where you want. You just need to make sure you listen to the voice of the shepherd and wherever it is that you go. That's right. If you served him before that organization, you could serve him after. But you know why people don't have that mentality, Mama Steph? It's because people make this group think that if you're not here, you can't serve. That's not the case. No organization owns anybody. Let me tell you something, right? I know a lot of congregations. You say on the Breakfast Club interview, the host asked if they were offered $1.5 million to have sex with Skip Bayless. A lot of women saying that they would commit the act to get the money. I mean, but we already know that. You know what I'm saying? I already know that. I'm not saying every woman would do it, but most women would. Simply because they'll be focused on the money. They'll throw all their morals out the window. You know what I'm saying? Now, I won't put it in the 95 percentile, but I would definitely say probably about 65% of women probably would do that. Because they would be more moved with the money. They would just throw every bit of self-respect, values, virtue out the window for a little bit of change. Well, I already know most of these dudes are gay. So I already know most of the dudes going, yeah, I'll do it. You gonna let a nigga bust up your back for one? You gotta look yourself in the mirror for the rest of your life and know you let a man bust up your back for some fiat currency. A white man at that. Yeah, a lot of them do use that 1 John but that's a manipulation to the other people in the congregation. I remember when some people left about a decade ago, and they just swore that we were just making lessons about them, and I'm like, no. Why would we do that? Why? For what? But I know the reason being because they said they've been to other churches, other places, and that's what these people did. I said, oh, baby, I don't know nothing about that. You're not that important. to do all of that. Because more people are focused on keeping people there. You know why people focus on keeping people there? Because you're giving them your money. And they want your praise and they want your esteem. So they're going to make sure that they do anything to make sure that people don't leave. Me personally, I don't care who leaves. I don't. You know why? Because when this thing started, it was just me and my muffin and Nell. That's it. That's all it was. I ain't have no thoughts, no machinations, no inclination that it would be anybody other than me, my muffin, and Nell. And that's it. And wherever we was living at, we gonna drop word there. That's the only, man, I take things day by day. It's never no thought process. Yeah, we're gonna grow a congregation, we're gonna get followers and all that type of stuff. Man, I don't even think that far ahead. I ain't gonna lie to you. My mind don't even work like that. I'm saying my mind don't even work like that. I'm only gonna focus on who's there. I can't focus on who ain't there. Why when you focusing on the people who ain't there, you can't get a service to the people who there. Because you're more worried about who ain't there, trying to keep these people there. If people gonna leave, they gonna leave. If they gonna stay, they gonna stay. If they want to fellowship over here, then they gonna fellowship over there. At the end of the day, no one man has a monopoly on this man's word. Nor does any preacher own anybody. That's insane. And you have to get out of that thought process. That's why he said you carnal when you that. I'm of Paul. I'm of Apollos. I'm of Cephas. That's carnal. That is carnal. You're not of the Assembly of the Firstborn. You're not of IUIC. You're not of IOG. You're not of Rebirth of a Nation. You're not of Straightway Ministries. You're not of the Chosen Seed. You're not of Truth Nation. You're not of any of those things. You are of Mashiach. All of those places are just places where individuals gather to be made perfect in the body of Mashiach. That's it. No more, no less. And if you think anything other than that, you have a mental problem. Period. And I don't care who don't like it. That's insane. And that's the problem. You're not identifying with your God. You're identifying with your organization. And that's a surefire way to go to hell. Surefire way. And you ain't got to believe me now. You'll believe me later. When you lifting up your eyes in hell and wondering how you got there. Because you put your organization before your God. Your fellowship and your service to your God is not dictated to where you fellowship at. It's dictated that you fellowship with him in Ruach and in truth. That's what it's dictated by. Now, whether you accept that or not, that's between you and Yahuwah. I ain't going to argue with you about it. You know what I'm talking about? But I know what this book say. And I know what we got to be with it. That's right, Brother Murray. And that just is what it is. Let me finish reading Isaiah 8 because I ain't finished that out. I hit my main point for this evening because I ain't got nothing else. If I did anything else, I'll be dragging it out. We'll be saving that part for. I'll read this in Isaiah 48 though. I will do that. Isaiah 48, where's my verse at? And 10. He said, behold, I have refined you, but not with silver. I have chosen you in the furnace of affliction. I want you to keep this in mind because we're going to revisit this when we talk about him fulfilling the affliction of atonement during his affliction at his crucifixion. When you look at refined you, again, this is saraf. It's a word that we didn't talk about before. Sod, Rosh, and Pei. And again, this is to be refined, to smelt, to refine, to test. Also to purge away. To purge away. So he's telling you that I've refined you, or I'm seeking to purge you away. And he is Bahar, which is the word for chosen. In the furnace of affliction. Affliction here is Oni. Ayin, Nun. Affliction, poverty, misery. Afflicted, trouble. So he's letting you know I have chosen you to go through this trouble. Oh, that's right. I wanted Acts 14:22 and I ain't grab it. Come on around here. Acts 14:22. Remember, he told you in the world you'll have tribulation. He said, but be of good cheer. He's overcome the world. So you have to remember that. I'll read verse 19, Acts 14 and 19. There came thither certain Yahudim from Antioch and Iconium who persuaded the people, having stoned Paul, drew him out of the city, supposing he had been dead. Howbeit, as the disciples stood round about him, he rose up and came into the city, and the next day he departed with Barnabas to Derbe. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Most of these dudes would not get stoned and get up and go preach the next day. Most of these dudes in 2025, quote unquote, would make sure that everybody in their mammy would know that they have been persecuted so that they can win some points. They wouldn't be focused on let me go get this gospel out. They would be focusing on getting on as much attention as possible to talk about, look at how wrong these people did me. Look at it. And man, Paul ain't had no time to do for that. Man, I know this what came with a job, blood. Okay, they hit me with some rocks, so be it. This word still got to be moved to Derbe, though. And I'm out here. Because, you know, these people swore an oath that they wouldn't eat till they killed this man. You understand how serious that is, man? These niggas swore to God, I ain't going to eat till I kill him. And you know what he was worried about? I need to preach tomorrow. Now, you ask yourself, you got that type of mind? Or is you going to focus on what these people did to you or what somebody said to you? Or you going to be focused on what it is you need to be doing in order to bring esteem to your Father's name through your witness or your life in Yahushua HaMashiach, if you want to be his disciple? Because you see, to bind up that testimony, because the testimony part of the part that was standing out of my brain. What is that testimony about? What is that testimony talking about? Because remember, Yahushua hadn't been manifested in the flesh yet. So when he's saying bind up the testimony, what testimony? Whose testimony? You know what I'm talking about? Hold on for a second. I know y'all know the word for testimony. I just putting it back on tape. You always got to make sure your game tape is up to par. You know, testimony here again is Tehuda, Tau, Ayin, U, Dalit, Hey. That's a testimony, an attestation, confirmation, testimony, a prophetic injunction. Now, this particular word is only used 3 times. And we ended out in the book of Ruth Saturday, and it's used there, and the other time it's just used in the book of Isaiah. So what is this prophetic injunction? Let's look at the definition of prophetic injunction, which of course is not going to be in Hebrew. I just want to see if we got a English. So what we have here, I don't need images, brother. It says a prophetic injunction is referred to a divine command. In the Old Testament, God instructed, this ain't really good enough. This one here says a prophetic injunction. One does not believe until he has love for us. Oh, these people just making stuff up. You know what's funny? I seen a thread, and in this thread, the lady was like, what if you made pastors have to go to theology school in order to preach? And I was like, you know, this is why everybody going to hell. Because you got to ask yourself this question. It's not a single solitary. There was no theology schools when these righteous men that you see in this book existed. I say that because remember the book tell you that understanding comes from Yahuwah. Individuals will do anything possible to remove Yahuwah from the equation and put man there. Every time. Without fail. I'm in Acts 14 and 21. Let me stop before I go on a tangent about that. I got to get y'all out of here. And when they had preached the gospel to that city, he taught many. They returned again to Lystra, to Iconium, and Antioch, confirming the souls of the disciples, exhorting them to continue in the faith that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the Malkuth of Elohim. And when they had ordained them elders in every assembly and had prayed with fasting, they commended them to the Lord whom they had believed. And after that, they passed through Pisidia, and they came to Pamphylia. And when they had preached the word to Perga, they went down to Attalia, and thence sailed to Antioch, from whence they had been recommended to the grace of Elohim for the work which they had fulfilled. And when they were come and gathered the assembly together. They rehearsed all that Elohim had done with them and how he had opened the door of faith unto the Gentiles. And there they abode a long time with the disciples. Again, verse 22 says, confirming the souls of the disciples. What does it mean to confirm their souls? What does it mean? This Greek word here is to. Is epistedrizo, to strengthen more, to render more firm, to confirm, more importantly, to strengthen. Remember, to keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. Trusting Yahuwah forever, for trusting Yahuwah is everlasting strength. You know that he told Peter, when you are converted, strengthen the brethren. So when you look at confirming the souls of the taught ones, the Lamud or the Taladim, they confirm them by strengthening them, and they strengthen them with the word of faith. That's how you strengthen a disciple. You know what I'm talking about? You don't strengthen a disciple by telling them they're an Israelite. You don't strengthen a disciple by telling them to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Only an idiot is going to tell you that. You strengthen them by strengthening them in their faith, their batak, their tikvah, their amunah, their aman, or their amath in Yahuwah. Meaning their faith or their hope and expectation in their God. That's how you make someone stronger. Y'all already know that. There's many people out here who are physically strong, but they are weak because they have absolutely no faith whatsoever. You know what I'm talking about? Absolutely none. Y'all know this. So if we say that we the servants of you, this is why I tell y'all, if you got something going on and you feeling weak or whatever the case may be, don't hit me up talking about sending you no Bible verse. Because I'm not going to send you nothing. I'm probably going to call you. Or I'm going to tell you to call me. Because sending you a Bible verse is not as what's going to strengthen you. Just having random verses in your... That's not what these people did. They didn't do that. They actually interacted with each other. Now, I'm not ridiculing people for doing that. You do that because this is usually the modus operandi, if you would. You know what I'm talking about? Of how people tell you you're supposed to handle things of this sort. But when you actually examine the word, these people interacted with each other. One thing about it, and two things for sure. You can't have this mind of, well, ain't nobody seeing about me. Because you don't know, just like you got stuff going on, they may got stuff going on. If you really got something going on and you need people, then you should just call them and say, hey, man, I got this going on. I need you right now. Now, if they say, I ain't got time for this, then you know what type of time they on. That attitude of, I'm going to wait to see who fool with me, you selfish as hell. And you're finding a way to make it be about you, to justify your social awkwardness and your ability to reject people, because this will justify the victimhood in your brain, because you're not thinking about nobody but yourself. You're not considering that just like you got stuff going on, they got stuff going on. You ain't considering that. This is one of the things that with men, that's why men usually don't try to dump their problems on their friends, because they already know that as a man, I already know he got stuff going on because I'm a man and he a man. I already know what time it is. That's why if dudes fool with each other for real and you hit your homeboy up and you like, hey, boy, I got this going on, he know it's real. See, if you want to know if people really fool with you for real, it's if when you tell them, hey, man, I need you, and they say, man, screw you. I'm not talking about you asking for something. I'm talking about, boy, I just need a listening ear. I just need some comfort. I need a companion. I need some strength. Ain't nobody don't know what you got going on if you don't open your mouth and say nothing. You want somebody to be able to read your behavior? Man, that's feminine, man. You was a grown man, bro. You a grown man. Open your mouth. I know that feels good to be like, people can tell this, that, there, and the third. But hey, man, all you got to do is just let people know, bro. That's all you got to do. When the Lord was sad, what did he do? Didn't he take his 3 disciples with him? Didn't he tell them? I'm exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. He didn't look for them they should figure it out. They should know it. I'm their Lord and Master. Have they not been watching me? That's selfish, man. That's self-centeredness, because you're thinking that everybody's interaction revolves around you. Their life don't revolve around you. You know what I'm saying? So they don't know what you got going on until you say something. You got to say something. If you need help, then ask for it. If you need strength, then ask for it. It's not that hard. We overcomplicate these things, and I genuinely believe that because we want to believe that people don't care about us. We want to believe that don't nobody love me. So you do things and put yourself in a position to where it'll come off that way to justify what you already got going on in your mind. 9 times out of 10, that's coming from because you felt like your family didn't love and care about you. And now you're transporting that on everybody else who you come across. And you make sure that no one could ever be in a situation and circumstance to show you different. You know what I'm saying? And that's really a level of psychological psychosis that you got to work that out because it's detrimental to your life. It definitely does not make you to have the ability to foster any type of intimate relationship whatsoever. And when I say intimate, I'm not talking about sexual. I'm talking about a close interpersonal relationship with anyone. It's going to be virtually impossible for you to do this because you're going to find a way to sabotage it. And your sabotaging of those interpersonal relationships is the justification of the thought process that you have about people. Absolutely, 10K. And you have to rationalize that, man, because it don't got to be that way. Now I know some people are loners, and some people know they got the wherewithal when it comes to certain things that I can deal with this and I can deal with that. But man, it ain't no big deal to. Like some people sit back and be like, man, you want somebody to pray with you or pray for you, and you just hoping that they gonna do it instead of just, hey man, pray for me, or call them up and say, can you pray with me right now, man? I got a lot going on. You don't even realize when you say that, if the person care about you, they probably gonna inquire what you got going on because they got care and concern for your well-being. You know what I'm saying? Like some of that stuff, man, look at it, man. People be complaining about how people is in the word. It ain't just because people, too many people in the word, they're not mature. Just as an adult, much less spiritually. You got too much stuff going on inwardly to be able to have functional and proper relationships with anybody. But nevertheless. Is it unreasonable to expect godly people to know to pray for you or be inclined naturally? How would they know? How would they know? Some people just pray for their people because that's just in general. You know what I'm saying? Like none of y'all who are here on a consistent basis has to ask for me to pray for you because that's already being done. But nevertheless, but that's just based off of the fact of the position that I'm presently occupying at this time. But shoot, man, if you got something going on, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know. And if they were praying for you, you wouldn't know anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because I think most people who actually pray for people don't call people up and be like, I'm praying for you, because it sounds so cliche that, are you really praying for me? Or is that just something you just say because that's just what people say? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some people have prayer lines and all that. I don't see the need or necessity for no prayer line. If you need somebody to pray for you, just call your people. You know what I'm saying? Just call your people. You said if you're making them aware that something going on, to hope. I mean, just ask for it. Just ask for it. Just say, will you pray with me? Sometimes some people, because what it is that we're expecting people to move in a certain type of way, and you have to know their character. A lot of people not even accustomed of being in the word and knowing how to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? And you have to take that into account also. Everybody just don't know how to do that. Let me pray for this person because they said that. You know what I'm saying? So some things you just have to let it be known. The same way the Lord told him, come watch with me. Told him, boy, come on with me. He told him. So if your Lord and Master, dang. Lisa said, I remember I called my brother and asked him to pray for me. He told me, you strong. 9 times out of 10, he probably didn't know what to do or even know what to say. Yeah, but see, one thing that we have to look at in life is we have to get out of that thought process of I shouldn't have to ask. Because if your God say ask and it shall be given to you, then you shouldn't be holding anybody else to any other standard. If he telling you, ask of me and I'll give to you. If he's telling you that, then we shouldn't be holding people to, I shouldn't have to ask. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, we're holding people to unreasonable expectations. You know what I'm saying? Because your God telling you to do this with him. So if he's telling you to do this, and he know all our thoughts, he said, I know what you have need of before you ask it. But if he's telling you to do that, he's setting the stage on showing you what to do. When he was going through his afflictions and suffering, none of them boys say, Lord, let's do this or let's do that. He told them, hey, man, come watch with me. He said, you couldn't watch with me for a night. He told them, hey, come do this, come do that. I need you to do this. If your Lord and Master is setting that example, then we should know that, hey, it's okay to ask them for prayer and not assume that they should just do it. You know what I'm saying? For sure. No, and I'm not saying this is like anybody, this is like not a right or wrong thing. It's just a shift in mindset. You know, we talked about this a while back when we were dealing with you don't have to go through things dolo because the Lord showed you that pattern. You don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same pattern. You know what I'm saying? Look at how he behaved. Pay attention to the details and the nuance of the conduct. We don't have to do that. All you have to do is add. You see how many times, now some things like this here, right? Peter went to jail. All them people came up and prayed for him. You know what I'm saying? Like I would wager most people seeing what Sister Regina mentioned, they're probably going to pray for her tonight. They didn't have to ask. She didn't have to ask for it. Most people are probably going to do that. But it would have been nothing wrong if she asked for it. You know what I'm saying? And say, hey, y'all pray for me. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes some people offer, some people don't. But nevertheless, you know what I'm talking about? It's okay to ask. You don't have to think that they should know or they should do. You know what I'm saying? Why do we have that thought process? They should know what to do. They should know. No, man. Open your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Just open your mouth. That's all you got to do. The man say, ask and you shall receive. That's all you got to do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about as a way where the people be tied in. And hey, if somebody don't want to pray for you or don't want to be there for you, that's not indicative of anything about you. You shouldn't be like, see, that's why I don't say nothing to nobody. No, that's that nigga. That's that person. That's that individual. You don't need to do that with them. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn how to compartmentalize when it comes to certain things and say, no, that's not everybody. That's them. So I know if I got XYZ going on, I ain't calling you. You know what I'm saying? It's really that simple. I ain't gonna call you. Because I know you're not gonna be, you ain't got nothing for me. Yeah, I ain't calling you. That's it. We have to learn to not make sweeping statements about everybody because everybody is not that person. That's a trauma response. You know what I'm saying? To be 100% honest with you. That's the response that comes from when people done failed you in your life previously, and that's your justification of not fooling with people. Because you having a flashback to this person who didn't do X, Y, Z at one particular point in your life. You know what I mean? That's where that come from. In general. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. We'll stop right there, though. Hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. I appreciate y'all time this evening. Bless y'all out the house. In the name of Yahushua, Yahuwah willing, we'll be back at it on the Shabbat. You know, just weigh and consider, man. You know, life is difficult. And it's definitely not meant to navigate dolo. Same reason, learn to separate the individual. Yeah. Yahuwah Baruch. You know what I'm saying? You have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to do it. I ain't saying it's easy. Now, one thing I didn't say it was easy. But it's something that we have to learn how to do. Again, we say Peace, Brother Nate, Yahuwah Baruch, and Yahuwah strengthen Sister Regina, man, because I know that's a hard situation. Yes, sir, so. Yes, sir, Eric, man. Shalom, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, just weigh and consider, man. Yes, sir, 10K. We ain't got to make this thing harder than what it is. Life hard enough. You know what I mean? It's hard enough. We ain't got to make it harder, but definitely, Yahuwah Baruch, my G. We definitely do have to sit back and realize, hey, man, if I got 1, 2, 3 hindering me, people today, you know what I'm saying? Then what am I going to do? Am I going to allow this to continue to hinder me? Am I going to make excuses for it? But the main thing we're dealing with that in order to be perfected, in order to find life, you're going to have to go through distress. And the book kind of teach that. That's why it's hard for people to accept the Mashiach, because they don't understand that their anointed one had to suffer. And people don't want to suffer. You know what I mean? But yeah. Again, I bless y'all, the house of Elohim, in the name of Yahushua. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Yahuwah willing. Man, we'll be back at it on the Shabbat. And until that time.